Hello and welcome to Fearless DIY Music. My name is Tristan Lass, and today I want to talk about first guitars. Now, if you're one of the unfortunate souls who's watching this video who's already gotten rid of your first instrument or instruments, you can be forgiven. A lot of people, end up with a starter guitar that is just very unsatisfying, and a lot of people are just ready to move on from that and just forget that it ever happened. I am one of those kind of people. I've held on to a lot of my instruments. I do have a few notable pieces that I regret selling. I had a 1985 Les Paul. At the time, it was only 2 years old when I traded it in to get a couple of Tokai Stratocasters. I've kind of gone over a little bit of that story before in some videos. But other than that Les Paul, which was a Gibson Les Paul, other than that Les Paul, I really don't have any regrets about the few instruments I have let go of. But today what I wanted to talk about is encouraging people who still have the very first instruments that they ever acquired to hang on to them. There's something special about looking back and going, wow, I still have this after all of these years. And so I wanted to show my very first guitar and my very second guitar in this video. This is not a video to do a deep dive into either instrument. There will be a point where I'm probably going to definitely do a deep dive on the Guild that's right next to me. And I am also looking to, at some point, mess around with this little guy and maybe try to bring it up into being more of a legitimate instrument. This is my very first acoustic guitar. My parents and I got it at the local Walmart. If I remember correctly, it was $24.95. This would have been approximately 1984 or so. There it is. Look at it. Isn't that crazy? It's 40 years old. I have, of course, modified it because I modified things even back when I was a kid. I have my initials carved in the headstock. I put furniture finish on it to make it look like it was actually wood, unlike the kind of like cardboard appearance that it had from the store. This bridge is not original. The tailpiece is off of an old parlor that my grandparents had up in the attic of their house. And other than that, it is original. It does have an additional sound hole on the back, something that just happened over time, and currently the neck is held in with a long drywall screw. Now, my plans for this guitar are maybe I'll glue the neck back on, put some real frets in it instead of these little brass things that are in there, and maybe fix it up a little bit. But this is my very first acoustic guitar. I remember sitting with my Mel Bay book and just sitting there going 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 and so on, learning how to play. I'll just give it a quick strum. We'll see if it even stays in tune. Not too shabby for a $25 guitar that's 40 years old. I keep this around. It's always hanging up someplace where I can see it. It reminds me of where my journey started. I would never part with this instrument because it was my very first guitar. I mean, there's a lot of special memories wrapped up in this, even though it is a hot piece of garbage. But like I said, maybe if I put a little bit of work into it, I can make it into something nicer. But a big part of me just thinks this is a time capsule, and I just keep it around. It plays reasonably well. If I wanted to record a song with it, using cowboy chords, I could. If I wanted to do anything up on the neck, though, that's not happening. But anyway, this is my first guitar. I just wanted to show that to you and encourage people to keep their first instrument, no matter how much of a piece of junk it is. Now, this is where kind of my luck as a human being and my luck as a guitar purchaser started. This is my first electric guitar. I bought this at a pawn shop in my hometown in about 1985. Probably 1985 I bought this. Yeah, it had to have been 85. And it is a 1971 Guild S90. Now, what's the difference between an S100 and an S90 Guild in the vintage world? This only has two controls on it, volume and tone. The S100s, of course, have four knobs like a Les Paul. It was in it. This has dot inlays instead of block inlays. So this was the budget Guild of the day. It was originally brown. I, of course, have customized this guitar over the years. It was in pieces for many years. I attempted mods on it when I was a kid, and I split the body in half. And then I put it in the case, and I went and I bought other guitars, like the Les Paul, like the Tokais. And this lay forgotten for a very, very long time. I did eventually restore it, gluing it all back together. I painted it in this beautiful metallic blue because I always wanted a guitar this color. So I went ahead and did it on this, pretty much negating all resale value of a vintage Guild. I, of course, painted right over, you know, the headstock, just sanded the Guild logo over and painted it because that's what happened. But this is my very first electric guitar. I have it set up the way that I had it by the time I was playing it in high school in bands. I didn't like the neck pickup, so I had a single coil that I had acquired, and I had it put in just like this one is. So it is set up exactly as it would have been during its heyday, which was primarily during high school. When I got the Les Paul, this guitar wasn't so much in service at that point, but this was my main guitar for at least a couple of years early on in my playing journey. And I love, love, love this instrument. We can take a quick listen, and I thought it'd be fun to play one of the very first riffs I ever wrote. I don't even know if it's a riff as much as a scale exercise, but this is like I'd say the first real thing that I ever wrote that I felt like, oh, this is kind of like, this is where I'm headed as a player. Anyway, just and I barely remember it, but that is like one of the first riffs that I ever wrote. And then just in general, it just sounds... And that's all on the single coil. And we got the humbucker. Let's throw on a little distortion just for fun on this old beast of mine. If I can hit the pedals. And there you have it. My very first electric guitar. I just, you know, I noticed that these were hanging up on the wall here in the shop somehow. My very first acoustic, my first electric, and my first Strat, you know, the Tokai over there with the green and the yellow. I just noticed they were all lined up together, and it made me feel a little nostalgic. I was like, oh, look, these are like my first guitars. And I still have them. And it's a super great feeling to look up and kind of see my past and then see the future too, with the ideas I have in my head, some of the new instruments that I've created, and the things that I continue to mod and try to make better. So, if you've watched the video to this point, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe. shares, comments. Anybody else out there still have their first instruments and want to share what they are, what they mean to them? I know that this guitar in particular, and even the old acoustic, mean so much to me. And I know that when I dusted this one off and got it back up and running towards the end of my performing career, this was a regular on stage, and it felt really cool to finally be up there playing in front of people with the guitar that I posed in front of the mirror with during my formative years. All right, you take care, smash that subscribe button for me, and we'll see you next time with another video.